Welcome back, warrior. We are reading Doctrine and Covenants, section 103, and we're going to read some historical background. Here we go. Ooh, the glasses are not cooperating. Okay, here we go. It says, one of the best sources for understanding the history of the saints during the time of the early church are the journals and diaries of members, including one wonderful book called The Autobiography of Parley P. Pratt. Parley was a great leader, a humble servant, a great writer, and one who would eventually be martyred for the cause of Zion. So living in Missouri at the time of the Great Persecution, Parley had the following to say in his autobiography about what he did after being forced out of independence. Now, I'm going to read a brief part of it, but not all of it, so you can go check that out, the autobiography of Parley P. Pratt. So he says, after making our escape into the country of clay, being reduced to the lowest poverty, I made a living by day labor, jobbing, building, or woodcutting till sometime in the winter of 1834, when a general conference was held at my house. Can you imagine? Like, general conference is coming up right now, and there is 0 houses that could contain all of the members. But back in the day, he had a conference at his house. That's so cool. It was held at my house, in which it was decided that 2 of the elders should be sent to Ohio in order to counsel with President Smith and the church at Kirtland and rake some measures for the relief of restoration of the people thus plundered and driven from their homes. Okay, 1 second. Okay, I wanted to put this on. I forgot, but it's going to be hot because it was cold this morning, so we put on long sleeves. And now, anyways, okay, so driven from their homes. The question was put to the conference, who would volunteer to perform so great a journey? The poverty of all and the inclement season of the year made all hesitate. At length, Lyman White and myself offered our services, which were readily accepted. I was at this time entirely destitute of proper clothing for the journey, and I had neither horse, saddle, bridle, money, nor provisions to take with me, or to leave with my wife, who lay sick and helpless most of the time. Under these circumstances, I knew not what to do. Nearly all had been robbed and plundered, and all were poor. As we had to start without delay, I almost trembled at the undertaking. It seemed to be all but an impossibility. But to him that believeth, all things are possible. I started out of my house to do something towards making preparation. I hardly knew which way to go, but I found myself in the house of Brother John Lowry, and was intending to ask him for money. But as I entered his miserable cottage in the swamp amid the low timbered bottoms of the Missouri River, I found him sick in bed with the heavy fever, and 2 or 3 others of his family down with the same complaint on different beds in the same room. Wow, he was vomiting severely and was hardly sensible of my presence. Holy, I would immediately be like, gotta go. Being like close to people who throw up, it's like, I'm gonna throw up, you know? I thought to myself, well, this is a poor place to come for money, and yet I must have it. I know of no one else that's got it. What shall I do? I sat a little while, confounded and amazed. At length, another elder happened in, and at that instant, faith sprung up in my heart. The Spirit whispered to me, is there anything too hard for the Lord? I said to the elder that came in, brother, I am glad you have come. These people must be healed, for I want some money of them and must have it. That's awesome. We laid hands on them and rebuked the disease. Okay, what's up with this? And rebuked the disease. Brother Lowry rose up well. I did my errand and readily obtained all I asked. This provided in part for my family's sustenance while I should leave them. I went a little further into the woods of the Missouri bottoms and came to a camp of some brethren by the name of Higby, who owned some horses. They saw me coming, and moved by the Spirit, one of them said to the other, there comes Brother Parley. He's in want of a horse for his journey. I must let him have Old Dick, this being the name of the best horse he had. Yes, said I. Brother, you have guessed right, but what will I do for a saddle? Well, says the other, I believe I'll have to let you have mine. I blessed them and went on my way rejoicing. I next called on Sidney A. Gilbert, a merchant then sojourning in the village of Liberty, his store in Jackson County having been broken up and his goods plundered and destroyed by the mob. Well, says he, Brother Parley, you certainly look too shabby to start a journey. You must have a new suit. I have got some remnants left that will make you a coat, etc. A neighboring tailoress and 2 or 3 other sisters happened to be present on the visit, and hearing the conversation exclaimed, "Yes, Brother Gilbert, you find the stuff and we'll make it up for him." This arranged, I now lacked only a cloak. This was also furnished by Brother Gilbert. Brother White was also prospered in a similar manner in his preparations. Thus faith and the blessings of God had cleared up our way to accomplish what seemed impossible. We were soon ready, and on the 1st of February, we mounted our horses and started in good cheer to ride 1,000 or 1,500 miles through a wilderness country. We had not 1 cent of money in our pockets on starting. Holy smokes. We traveled every day, whether through storm or sunshine, mud, rain, or snow, except when our public duties called us to tarry. We arrived in Kirtland early in the spring, all safe and sound. We had lacked for nothing on the road and now had plenty of funds in hand. President Joseph Smith and the church in Kirtland received us with a hospitality and joy unknown except among the saints, and much interest was felt there as well as elsewhere on the subject of our persecution. End quote. Holy smokes. Parley P. Pratt, the autobiography of Parley Parker Pratt, 1985. Wow. That is so crazy. So, like the faith that these brothers had is immeasurable. Like I can't even fathom that kind of faith. Okay, so the revelation given through Joseph Smith the prophet at Kirtland, Ohio, February 24th, 1834. This revelation was received after the arrival in Kirtland, Ohio of Parley P. Pratt and Lyman White, who had come from Missouri to counsel with the prophet as to the relief and restoration of the saints to their lands in Jackson County. I don't even know how long it would take on horse to get from Missouri to Ohio, right? Maybe go Google that and see, because that would take forever. And like, you can't ride the horse the whole time. The horse has got to rest and relax. And I'm sure, like, if you've ever ridden a horse, okay, and I only have ever ridden one once, I'm guessing these people were more practiced up, but I've ridden it twice. But anyways, the horses, it is not a comfortable ride, okay? Like trying to ride. Okay, so I don't know where it paused. Great. Why is this cutting out? I don't know what's going on. Okay, anyways, so from Missouri to Kirtland was so many thousand, like over 1,000 miles. And I don't know how long it would take, so you need to Google it, because if you've ever been on a horse, and I have only ridden a horse twice, that would be very uncomfortable. And I'm guessing the horse is also going to need to rest. So who knows how long? Like, I don't think I could ride a horse longer than 30 minutes. You know, like I feel like, or maybe it was an hour that I rode it. So anyway, I think that would take a while. Okay, so we're on Doctrine and Covenants, section 103, verse 1. Here we go. Verily I say unto you, my friends, behold, I will give unto you a revelation and commandment. Oh, wait, hold on. Did I finish reading the preface? The intro? Oh, yeah. Whoopsies. Hold on. Okay. Verily I say unto you, my friends, behold, I will give unto you a revelation and commandment, that you may know how to act in the discharge of your duties, concerning the salvation and redemption of your brethren who have been scattered on the land of Zion, being driven and smitten by the hands of mine enemies, on whom I will pour out my wrath without measure in mine own time. For I have suffered them thus far, that they might fill up the measure of their iniquities, that their cup might be full, and that those who call themselves after my name might be chastened for a little season with a sore and grievous chastisement, because they did not hearken altogether unto the precepts and commandments which I gave unto them. Verse 5, but verily I say unto you that I have decreed a decree, which my people shall realize, inasmuch as they hearken from this very hour unto the counsel which I, the Lord their God, shall give unto them. Behold, they shall, for I have decreed it, begin to prevail against mine enemies from this very hour. Okay, I love that. So he's promising us that if from right now, okay, it's, yes, he's talking to those saints over there, but also if we want to apply it into our lives, it's literally from this moment that we're reading it, right? So I like to liken scriptures to myself, like Nephi, right? And so that's what we want to do. So he says, if from this very hour we hearken to the Lord's words, we can prevail against his enemies. And who's the enemy of Jesus Christ? Satan. So, and we want to prevail against him, right? So there's a quote from George Buchanan. He says this: there cannot be a doubt in any faithful man's mind concerning the truth of this promise. The promise of victory and deliverance on the one hand, the promise of punishment, disaster, and trouble on the other. The Latter-day Saints have, in their experience, proved fully the truth of these words. These have seen them fulfilled. They have seen them fulfilled to the very letter. When they have been faithful in keeping the commandments of God, they have prospered, and that they have had deliverance. When they have been unfaithful, they met with trouble and serious difficulty. It is necessary that the wicked should have the opportunity to exercise their agency in relation to the work of God, for they have an agency as well as we. It is their privilege to assist in building up the work of God, or they can't exercise their agency in fighting the work of God. They have the privilege to do everything in their power to destroy it, and they will be permitted to do this until the cup of their iniquity is full. End quote. George Buchanan, October 1899 conference report. Okay, so this is the sad part, right? Is the fact that other people, not just people who make good choices and people who are kind, but also people who don't make good choices are free to act, right? And they have their agency. And because of that, we can suffer at the hands of others. And that is sad. But the promise is here that the Lord is giving us, that we can begin to prevail against the enemies from this very hour if we hearken to the Lord's counsel. And the Lord has given us a lot of counsel, and we want to prevail against our enemies, right? And it's not just we want to keep ourselves safe or we want to keep ourselves from experiencing trials. I mean, we do, but that's not what the Lord is telling us he's going to do. He's not going to protect us from trials. He's not going to protect us from things that other people have the agency to do. And so we have to rely on the Lord to help us even through our trials, right? And that's what he's trying to say, like that we will prevail against his enemies. And I feel like the word prevail is like a different word than I'm going to keep you protected and safe against your enemies, right? Prevail means like, it's like a struggle, right? But you're going to come out on top. Like, that's what I feel like the word prevail means. Because it's like to overcome, right? It's not to avoid. It's not to prevent, right? But it's to overcome, which means that you're not going to avoid it. You're going to be able to overcome your enemy's attacks. And that's what we need, right? We need to be able to overcome those things. Okay, and then we have verse 7 to 10, and then we're going to pause it for a bit because we need to drop off some peeps at soccer. And this morning I was very distracted, but I needed to I felt like I needed to compile all of our Halloween's costumes as a family from before our kids were born and then till last year, which is now we have 3 kids. And it was so, like, I love reminiscing, and it was so fun to do that. But at the same time was really hard because I ran across some things, some trials, right? That I've had to experience. And I can see the hand of the Lord, that he has helped me prevail against my enemy, who is Satan. Okay, verse 7. And by hearkening to observe all the words which I, the Lord their God, shall speak unto them, they shall never cease to prevail until the kingdoms of the world are subdued under my feet, and the earth is given unto the saints to possess it forever and ever. But inasmuch as they keep not my commandments, and hearken not to observe all my words, the kingdoms of the world shall prevail against them. For they were set to be a light unto the world, and to be the saviors of men. And inasmuch as they are not the saviors of men, they are as salt that has lost its savor, and is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and trodden under foot of men. Okay, so we're on verse 11. We'll pause there. Okay, so we are just here. I'm going to finish reading section 103. Okay, verse 11. This is where we left off. But verily I say unto you, I have decreed that your brethren which have been scattered shall return to the lands of their inheritances, and shall build up the waste places of Zion. For after much tribulation, as I have said unto you in a former commandment, cometh the blessing. Okay, so after the hard stuff comes the blessings. It's like good, but then it's also bad, because you want the blessing throughout all this stuff, right? Throughout all the hard stuff. But yes, hindsight's 2020. Sometimes we can see that we have been blessed by something hard, or that we can see that we made the best of it with the Lord, right? He can help us make the best of situations. Because, I like to say that things don't happen to us, they happen for us. And so if that's our attitude about everything, then yes, the Lord can help us accomplish that in our lives. So behold, this is the blessing which I have promised after your tribulations and the tribulations of your brethren, your redemption and the redemption of your brethren, even the restoration to the land of Zion, to be established, no more to be thrown down. Nevertheless, if they pollute their inheritances, they shall be thrown down, for I will not spare them if they pollute their inheritances. Okay, so President Joseph F. Smith said this: the enemies of the people of God can do nothing against but for Zion. In all these vicissitudes, yeah, and during all the persecutions of 14 years, did they diminish the numbers of the saints? No, they did not. And it seems that our enemies themselves are fully aware of this fact. End quote. So all that trying to persecute the saints. And what happened? We just continued to grow in numbers. So what does that say to those who are trying to oppress, who are trying to be mean, who are being bullies, who are persecuting saints? Like, just don't worry about it. Like, do something different. You're wasting your time. And if you don't like it, leave, go somewhere else. Don't worry about it. The problem with our internet is that when you search for things, you will be handed those things more, right? So like, if I'm going to search for Barbies one time, do you know how many Barbies I'm going to get to see in the future? Like tons. But what if I was searching for Barbies but don't actually like Barbies? Am I going to get mad? Yeah, I'm going to get upset that all I keep seeing are Barbies. You see what I'm saying? So like, just don't even worry about stuff. Like, you're going to be fed the stuff that you worry about, the stuff you look up, the stuff that you hate. If you're going to look things up, it's just going to be worse for you. So clear your cache, clear all your stuff. If you don't like something, don't search for it. Do something else. Search for stuff that you like and fill your life with those things, right? Fill your life with light, with just good stuff, right? And then you don't have to worry about the bad stuff coming in, right? And so that's what's really sad. Verse 16, therefore I will raise up unto my people a man who shall lead them like as Moses led the children of Israel. Okay. Verse 17, For ye are the children of Israel and of the seed of Abraham, and ye must needs be led out of bondage by power and with a stretched out arm. And as your fathers were led at the first, even so shall the redemption of Zion be. Therefore, let not your hearts faint. For I say not unto you, as I said unto your fathers, mine angel shall go up before you, but not my presence. But I say unto you, mine angel shall go up before you, and also my presence, and in time ye shall possess the goodly land. Okay, verily, verily, I say unto you that my servant Joseph Smith Jr. is the man to whom I likened the servant to whom the Lord of the vineyard spake in the parable which I have given unto you. Therefore, let my servant Joseph Smith Jr. say unto the strength of my house, my young men and the middle aged, gather yourselves together unto the land of Zion, upon the land which I have bought with money that has been consecrated unto me. And let all the churches send up wise men with their monies and purchase lands, even as I have commanded them. And inasmuch as mine enemies come against you to drive you from the goodly land, which I have consecrated to be the land of Zion, even from your own lands, after these testimonies which ye have brought before me against them, ye shall curse them. And whomsoever ye curse, I will curse, and ye shall avenge me of mine enemies. And my presence shall be with you, even in avenging me of mine enemies, until the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Let no man be afraid to lay down his life for my sake, for whoso layeth down his life for my sake shall find it again. And whoso is not willing to lay down his life for my sake is not my disciple. It is my will that my servant Sidney Rigdon shall lift up his voice in the congregations in the eastern countries in preparing the churches to keep the commandments which I have given unto them concerning the restoration and redemption of Zion. It is my will that my servant Parley P. Pratt and my servant Lyman White should not return to the land of their brethren until they have obtained companies to go up unto the land of Zion by tens or by 20s or by 50s or by 100, until they have obtained to the number of 500 of the strength of my house. 31. Behold, this is my will. Ask and ye shall receive, but men do not always do my will. Right? Therefore, sometimes we don't ask the Lord because we almost already know the answer. And then we're like, but we don't want him to actually tell us the answer because we don't want that answer. How many times do we do that? How many times have I done that where it's like, I already know what the Lord's going to say, so I don't want to ask, right? But just because you don't want to have to say that you didn't do what the Lord asked you to do. But we already know that if we already know what we're supposed to do, that is like the Lord already telling us, okay? So it's not like a secret from the Lord that you know what he wants you to do, even though you're avoiding knowing what he wants you to do. Just because you didn't ask doesn't mean the Lord didn't already tell you. And just because you didn't ask what you need to do and you're not doing it, and you didn't ask the Lord, it doesn't mean that he doesn't know what you're not doing. If that even made sense. And if ye cannot obtain 300, therefore if you cannot obtain 500, okay, hold on, verse 32. Therefore, if you cannot obtain 500, seek diligently that peradventure you may obtain 300. And if you cannot obtain 300, seek diligently that peradventure you may obtain 100. But I verily say unto you, a commandment I give unto you, that ye shall not go up unto the land of Zion until you have obtained 100 of the strength of my house, to go up with you unto the land of Zion. Therefore, as I said unto you, ask and ye shall receive, pray earnestly, and peradventure my servant Joseph Smith Jr. may go with you and preside in the midst of my people, and organize my kingdom upon the consecrated land, and establish the children of Zion upon the laws and commandments which have been and which shall be given unto you. All victory and glory is brought to pass unto you through your diligence, faithfulness, and prayers of faith. Let my servant Parley P. Pratt journey with my servant Joseph Smith Jr. Let my servant Lyman White journey with my servant Sidney Rigdon. Let my servant Hiram Smith journey with my servant Frederick G. Williams. Let my servant Orson Hyde journey with my servant Orson Pratt, whithersoever my servant Joseph Smith Jr. shall counsel them in obtaining the fulfillment of these commandments, which I have given unto you, and leave the residue in my hands. Even so, amen. Okay. So, I guess if they weren't able to gather 500, then they were to seek diligently to gather 300. If they couldn't do 300, then they were supposed to gather 100. The Lord desired not only the establishment of Zion, but he desired to create a people ready to establish Zion. So in order to do so, he needed leadership, and he needed his servants to be tested and tried. Therefore, the calling of many servants including all those brethren, to organize others for their purpose of redemption of Zion. Ultimately, they will gather just over 200 individuals. These men knew they were organizing a small army to go to Missouri. Unknowingly, they were gathering those who will be called the quorum of the 12 apostles and members of the quorum of the 70. The Lord had great plans for those who volunteered, all to redeem Zion. As these men did their part, the Lord declared, "Leave the residue in my hands." Okay, so that is it for section 103. And the couple questions that we can end here with, it's, why do we sometimes struggle to do the Lord's will? And how would the Lord use this circumstance to further build his kingdom on earth? Some really good questions that we can ask. And this was considered to be Zion's camp. Let me read this part here. It says, the Lord called on specific individuals to start gathering companies to go up to the land of Zion for those he desired to gather for Zion's camp. But then the Lord admitted that this is my will, but men do not always do my will. Brigham Young, who was one who volunteered to go to Zion's camp, said this about those who do not do God's will. We are not like others who are called by men to go on missions in the world. We are called of God and carry with us true credentials, not the credentials of Paul, Peter, or any other old apostles and servants of God who used them 1,000 years ago. But we have the living oracles and the holy priesthood restored in our day, giving authority to men in the 19th century as in days of old. Having this authority and these great advantages, we should be better than anybody else, end quote. So this is from Brigham Young, Saints Improving Slowly, etc., Journal of Discourses, Volume 12. Okay, so we will see in section 104 what else is going on. Okay, until then, stay strong, warrior.